Hi, good morning, Mark. Is that what you call it in your part of the world?
Hi, Michael. Still
Hi,
in Toronto?
Ottawa.
Ottawa. Okay.
Ottawa. Such a different place.
I did my internship there back when Bell Northern Research was a thing. So now I'm dating myself.
You were on the big nerd ranch, eh?
I was. It was
Well,
good times.
yeah, that was in many ways that was a high point for Ottawa.
Hmm.
Into maybe 94, 95,
Yeah, yeah,
as
94.
because at in 96 BNR mostly disappeared as a name brand.
Right.
It became Nortel Networks,
Yeah.
and that was the begin. And the major sign, and people said it at the time, at the beginning of the end, was that they moved all of their development people to Windows NT,
Uh,
and people said, well, but it can't do this and this and this and this and this and this won't work and this won't work and this won't work, and sure enough, that was exactly the case. And they proceeded to bleed hundreds and hundreds of their smartest people, and they couldn't build a release for like 8 or 10 months.
that was
Like,
dumb.
yeah, I mean, and people said this is what's going to happen, and then it was like, what is the quote now? Predicted outcomes are it's the bureaucratic version of "I told you so," right?
Right.
Anyway, and they just couldn't keep up, and then Cisco ate their lunch, and they died, and a lot of things in Ottawa died with them. It was kind of
Yeah.
yeah. What is
Well,
this?
I
I have a
enjoyed
little
my
US. I
time
have the
there.
shortest. It seems like the shortest USB cable ever, but I like where did it come from, and why do I have it?
It's probably from one of those little devices that you receive that each one of them comes with a USB-C cable, it seems.
Probably, but which one?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
And
It's USB-C.
where has it been on my desk for the last uh like like why haven't I seen it before?
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, so I posted a document.
Yes,
I
I
don't
did
even
see
have.
that. Hank sent me the link. I made a pull request into it. Have you seen
Oh,
it?
okay. No, I have just really just
Okay.
I've woken up for the day, and
Yeah,
I'm
that was a
putting
few
on
days ago.
another
So I
another
noticed.
deadline.
So I have two major gripes with the document, and this is not criticism, just like just things missing from it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned background check model, but it works equally well with passport and background check. And you
Well,
also
well,
you
so I want to take a quibble with that.
uh-huh.
It 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 can be made to work in both modes, but I'm saying pick one because it's not trivial to make it, because there's more details around each part that you have to get right.
Well, it's just you never know what the rat's relying party unless you're going to implement your own. Like
Well, no, but
oftentimes
it's not. I'm trying to say that. Oh shit, crap! Just a moment.
oftentimes the rat's relying party is a key store that receives attestation results. That's today's world.
Hmm.
And we should not be fighting against it. So I think we should be enabling uh, all. And so that's the first thing. And the other thing that you only, like we have three variants, and then you only documented one. And I really think we need to bring all three in.
Okay, so what I'm trying, just give me a second. I just have a tab that's decided to babble at me. Oh, there it is. Um, um, sorry, I have to join again uh, with Chrome to see your screen. Um, Hi, sorry. Yeah. So my problem with what you're saying is, yes, we can do everything, okay, but an attester that implements passport mode is completely incompatible with one that implements background check. and it's not like I can just trivial implement both, right? Um, and um,
Well, also the attester that wants keys versus credentials, right? They are
mhm.
versus newly minted credentials versus existing credentials.
Well,
It's
I think that's a little bit easier to cope with. And also, I think that, as I think I wrote in the document, it's possible that there are testers that will get, one kind of key for one service
yeah.
one way and a different kind of key for a different service a different way, right?
Well, I mean, this is why you specify a key ID depending on your credential ID. Like you basically have to give a hint, but the attestation results are the same. Why don't we put all the options on the table and let IETF decide and let the market decide? Like, why are we making this decision between you and I with limited information? Right? I mean,
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you that, and that's actually part of what why I think we should say one thing or the other, because by saying both,
well,
then the IETF doesn't decide.
let me ask you this. And the RATS architecture itself has passport mode and background check model. Like this, by the same argument, they could have
Hmm.
said, "Oh, we understand it could be done both ways, but we're only going to pick one." I think that would be a limitation,
Well,
right?
I agree with you at that level. But if you look at the TEEP architecture, the TEEP architecture consists of two layers of attestation, one of which is the first of which is passport mode, and the second of which is background check for the two different layers. And the two
Yeah.
different layers are very specific about those two things. So they made a choice and they
Well,
described it, and
but
their
how? Okay,
protocol.
so let's say we go with your proposal, right?
Yeah.
And let's say we make a mistake, and the background check model is not the right one. Then what's the process after? This goes out. Like this is why I'm saying, like, I would much rather go out with a menu of options, and let's say, okay, do
Well,
you guys want to
so
winnow it down, and then have a discussion around what to winnow it down to?
who's going to make that decision?
Well, so for one, as I said, today, if I were to implement like something, I would implement key broker and passport model because that's actually what most
Okay.
existing solutions are. But even so, right? So even so, I believe that would be easier to implement. I still don't feel like we would be covering all our bases. And again, if you have replica workloads versus you have long-living workloads that need freshly minted credentials, it, if you provide it's like not giving enough calories or nutrients. Like, you need to have and maybe unfortunately, but you need to have this richness of options.
I- I'm so first of all, I'm not claiming that I think I wrote it's background check. I don't think I'm claiming right now that I'm sure of that. If passport model is the right answer, then passport model is the right answer. But what I'm trying to get at is that when the IETF doesn't describe this at this level, and I think I think we need to be specific. I think this document needs to be specific as to this is something you implement. Um, then someone sits down and says, "Okay, I'm a developer at XYZ Corp, and I'm supposed to build something that's compatible. What does that mean?" And then you build the wrong thing because it's unclear to you who would actually make this choice, who would do the pick.
So then if there are like there are in fact five ways of skinning this cat as the
Yeah,
Google document. So do we publish five RFCs then? Or do we basically say, no, we decree that these options are not on the table, just don't do them? Like,
we think that this option that these are the reasonable options. And if your industry fora has a different view, then yeah, you should write a specific RFC that modifies or changes our stuff. and it's an applicability statement at that level. That's what I'm trying to say is that I what I'm trying to say is please don't sit on the fence, because all you've done is punt the decision to people who are less qualified.
Well, yeah.
And that's why at one level why the IETF likes running code, right? If you can make running code, then those decisions have been made in sufficient detail that you can do something about them. And
Yeah.
and if you tell me convincingly, and I'm not saying I'm not like, this is not adamant. You tell me convincingly, oh yeah, but you know what? Every time you do a well, I'm sorry, now I don't remember what the words I use. Credential broker, as opposed to let me see, what did I call it? Every time you do every time your credential broker is an identity provider, that it's background check. But every time your credential broker is, I call it a secure repository, then it's a passport model. And they seem identical, but the operational side of things is different, right? And I'm not saying that's the right way, but that's
So
okay.
you are opposed to listing all 5 options in this version 1 of the draft, and then let's basically then we have 4 months until the San Francisco IETF to say we're going to bring 1 or 2 of these to implementation. Let's decide which ones these are going to be, and we can have then
Right.
a discussion around that. I would prefer that.
Yeah, I would say do something. And if um if if you don't think we can make a decision, and we have to put all, why is there 5? What do we get rid of that we don't think we're 5? That, what is the 6th? Because there's 3 options
Well, the
times 2
sixth
models.
one, the sixth one would be, if you pull it up, is the one that is possible. But I in that one I called because I have to remember, I have to pull up the document. Hold
Well,
on.
so but you wanted to get rid of the long-term
The
bearer
long
token,
term. Yeah,
right?
I believe we should not have a broker for long term things.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, but how would that matter whether it was passport or background check for the long term?
Oh no, that's not what I'm talking about at all.
Okay.
Okay, let me bring up this original document because I made a comment somewhere.
Yeah, you have 1A, 1B, 2, 3A, 3B.
Ah,
Yes.
hold on. So credential
I haven't pulled
broker.
that text properly into the into things because I didn't know how to fit it yet.
Hold on. So there's a key broker for proof of possession, key broker for shared keys, and then credential broker for proof of possession. There is no credential broker for shared keys. That's the one that was called, and that's because shared keys, I guess they're just like shared keys. Wait a second. So no, the key broker's there. I guess I'll have to just say I forget why exactly there was no.
So I don't know how to do the I don't know yet how to do the key broker for shared keys.
Well,
Sorry.
the keys.
Sorry. I don't know how to use the key broker for shared symmetric keys.
Well,
Um,
well, this one is symmetric keys because that one says proof of possession keys. And there was a star. Where did the star go? There was supposed to be a. Oh, there we go. Pre-provisioned. It's just these are symmetric keys. So somebody puts the pre-shared key in a place, and then everybody else gets them. That's the one I'm more. This is the one I'm happy to drop because there's just bad security practice to just hand
right.
out a bunch of shared keys willy-nilly, right? But the rest, I believe we need to keep. And the thing is, one statement saying you can do them in passport mode or you can do them in background check model. For one, it keeps it in line with the RATS architecture that allows you to pick, right? And we don't need to dwell on it too much. We can basically say, yeah, we'll need to implement something. Let's, what are the most salient ones to do? And then we can basically say, we can document on these profiles down the line, but not giving people the option right now in V1, I believe is doing ourselves a disservice because we
Okay.
really don't know
So
what people want. We
I'm
can't know.
I'm agreeing with you that we have to describe something. I'm agreeing with you that we don't necessarily that there may be some differences. Okay. What I'm trying to challenge is by stating some opinion, we are more likely to get a a well thought of argument as to why we're wrong, and that becomes then someone's use case of I've just explained to you why I need passport mode and not
Yeah.
background check,
Yeah.
and
But
that's good because they've now articulated a choice.
Well, but again, that's so okay. So let's first of all state where we're in agreement. I believe having people, make a conscious choice of what's better is good.
Yeah.
But by listing something, one option and not the other, I don't care which it is actually. We are taking that choice out of people's hands, basically saying, no, we decree that this is the one that we ought to go for, and it's it then forces them to think, okay, but what about this other thing? Whereas, I would prefer that we simply say, look, uh, y- you know,
Okay.
per RATS architecture, both models are supported. We are actually here agnostic of which one you use. But yes, we do need to implement something because that, there is no better proof of concept than running code. Like, again, you and I agree on that. So put the options on the table now. Have a discussion on the mailing list, like with interested parties, including Whimsy, Spiffy, whatever, on bring hyperscalers to the table and say, okay, let's get something together that works. And whichever ones we decide to implement first, that wins. And then if somebody comes along and says, yeah, but from the choices you listed in this draft, this other one is actually works better for us. Then we'll say, welcome to the table. Do that. Like I don't want to remove. Like I'm happy to remove the key broker for shared keys because it's a bad security practice. Somebody who wants to introduce it,
It's another
they need to
a
explain
higher
why
level.
that is.
To me, that's a higher level of conversation,
Well,
right?
it's
And
I,
and
I
I
like
and
I like to steer people away from things that are bad. You know,
yeah, yeah, I agree with you. So, but let's not rat hole in that. I actually don't. One of my reasons why I don't know, for the shared symmetric keys, I don't have a good algorithm or a good existing protocol to throw at that right now. Um, it's possible that the answer is actually Kerberos, but um, uh, that's neither here nor there, right? What is what I'm trying to say. Um, but for the other ones, for the proof of possession credentials, well, you can use ESD pretty much, even when it's in they're not newly, even when it's a credential store. One is that 1A?
Anyway, but you have you noticed
No,
that I
which is
sent a pull request in? Just out of curiosity, because
yeah, I see
this
that. I
is
see your pull request.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's just I was fixing a bunch of typos, but then I
yeah.
like changed some words. It was not like a technical PR.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I see that. Okay. I will just
Yeah. What's your schedule like between now and ATF? Are you going to be able
left
to
4 days ago. I'm sorry that I didn't see that yesterday and get it done.
right.
Well, I've been under a hard deadline, um, which would ideally have been last week. So I actually missed it. But we're
That's
not done.
okay. It's
Yeah.
just
So
like I'm
uh,
I'm on vacation next week, and my ability to collaborate will be limited. This week I'm online.
okay, well, so happy to talk more this week. Then I will probably, or send things, and I will come back to more ITF work starting on
Yeah.
Friday. I fly on Tuesday evening for meetings on other IPsec related meetings on Thursday, Friday in Vienna, um, and I got to get ready for that. Um, So I want to have this background check passport model, but I would like to have it. I don't mind. I would prefer to actually describe two scenarios, one which is solvable by background check and one which is solvable by passport model. And um, if there's two reasons to do it, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't want someone sitting down to implement should know what they're doing. And I think it's subtle because the freshness of the attestation results depends heavily on the pattern and also the trust model. So for instance, does the relying party get to pick the verifier or does the attester get to pick the verifier, right?
So, okay, so this is where this is where I prefer we fall on this. Right now, we simply say here's a menu of choices, like we said. Okay, maybe there are just four choices, like three variants. One of them has two choices, whatever. Then background check versus passport model. It's simply one sentence. It works in either. And then what we do after IETF, assuming that we get interest from people, we basically say, all right, for San Francisco, we want to have at least one implementation, ideally two. All right, so I can go take this to Whimsy, I can take this to Coco Confidential Containers, I can find other
Yeah.
people. I can take it to Google, I can take it to Microsoft. I can basically say, look, let's decide on which one is important and why. So it's not your and I decision right now, but it's the decision of the community saying this sounds like a good idea. We need to enable rats on the very relying parties. That's the actual goal. Now, and then let's have a discussion about, which of these options we take, right? Uh, they're simple to describe. One can easily draw an interaction diagram just based from like the thing I just have on the screen here. Like that's a clean transfer into the ID. That's right. And then uh, over the summer, over September, October, you know, I have a developer who'll be writing some code. I can talk to Peter Castleman. I can talk to
Okay.
other folks, right? And then by October, if we decide based on the discussion that we only want, I don't know, background check, credential minting, like whatever that is, we'll say, all right, we're doing this profile. Here's an implementation. Here's some code. And then if by somewhere they say, well, we need this other profile too. Like if you have three options, so four options, and they have two modes, okay, you have eight. Maybe that's too many. Maybe by the time all is said and done, we'll have three. That's okay. But I'm really afraid of keeping the channel narrow going out.
Okay. All right. I accept your point. I just don't want us to go to RFC with no advice as to which to do what. That's all.
Right. And then we'll get this advice because we'll solicit, like, first of all, I want to know if there's interest.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there is no interest, like I continue to assert that's a major deployment blocker.
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's like no two ways about it. Major deployment blocker. We need to do something about it. Okay. Um, but having recognized that, if hopefully we can convince people that deployment blocker is worth removing. Now, how we do it, I mean, ultimately it depends on, which of the technologies wins. Like if Coco wins, if Whimsy wins, whatever. The Whimsy proposal for attested credentials right now, I'm going to have a conversation with them. I emailed them because uh, I think it's an entirely wrong way of going about it. So that's why it's important to have something out that prevents people from making bad decisions.
Okay.
But like, I mean, take this text here. Like it's pretty easy to I think it's actually good text.
Yep.
Um,
I will bring the table and this variance in another revision and
yeah,
see
and
what
by the
I
way,
can
so
do.
it sounds like the meeting
I
is
was up to
completely
the wire yesterday.
oversubscribed. We're going to have an overflow meeting, I think Monday night.
Oh,
I
okay.
was talking
I
to
didn't read
Yogesh
that thread
about it,
yet.
so we'll still have a chance to present. I basically told him, look, I don't want to like there may be another meeting on Friday, but I may not be there. So I'm like, I'd like to be there in person. I'd like to give this 10 minutes hearing. I'd like to have the hallway conversations with people about it.
Okay.
Right. So it's important to have the document out, but I will commit after we put the options on the table to actually go work with various parties and ask them, which ones should we have an interoperable implementation around, and then try to fast track that.
So the questions I suggest that you ask is not, do you want background or passport?
Mhm.
Okay. The suggestion I think that you should ask is whether the attester or the relying party gets to pick the verifier, and how does mutual trust in the verifier, how is that established, right?
Right.
And this goes to am I enabling LG, Samsung, Apple? I'm talking smartphones here, but never mind. I'll change it to am I enabling Dell, Gateway, Supermicro, Azure to pick the verifier because it matches their hardware, okay,
Yeah.
and their hypervisor and that stuff
Yeah.
for the workloads, or am I enabling uh, JP Morgan, who runs uh, um, the broker, to to uh, a broker to pick which verifier it's going to use for the workloads, right?
Right.
Okay, and
And
so
yeah,
those.
right. So those are good questions to have. I wonder if I guess they don't belong in the informational RFC or informational draft. Although
Well, no,
maybe there is a way to
no,
put
but
them in.
considerations about that trust relationship do belong.
Okay, well then you can just insert them, right? Like when you make the changes. So put those
Yeah,
questions
and
in.
and and yeah, and that's the conversation, and also it also leads into, okay, how do we do freshness? Because either way, the verifier usually has to produce a nonce, which has to be communicated to the attester in order for the evidence to be fresh.
Right.
And in a background check model, that has to go through the relying party.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm oh, this is a complete tangent, but I've always had issues with freshness. I think freshness overcomplicates things here. But it's not a battle I'm gonna win. Okay. All right. So please keep me updated when you publish new things. I'm again this week, and even as I'm on Friday I'm flying to Vienna. I'm happy to take a look, do a
Okay.
review, maybe do another pull request. I have all
I'm
the
especially interested in your thoughts around let me see if I can get the right part of the document here. Um, so assumptions about workload immutability, and I have hostile regulator underneath there as of yesterday. You may not have seen that. I'm especially interested in your comment. So I mean, I made something up. I don't know if it's realistic, but about
I
immutability.
will give you my opinion only, not speaking on behalf of anyone.
Well, okay, but I also would really like to understand, and I think that the readers, and I'm actually thinking about specifically some people in the like Eckert, who regularly ask these questions for good reason. Um, explain to me how this really, who really is involved, right? So the example is you could actually have where I think you couldn't necessarily change something is your workload could be written in WASM, right? And your container is just running it, and it could be COBOL compiled to WASM. And it knows absolutely nothing about the internet, but it has a TLS connection that simulates a virtual paper tape and another one for its virtual printer, right?
Okay.
Right. So in that case, that the the application written in COBOL, it might be still someone can edit it, but there's no way I can put a TLS setup code in it. That's just doesn't how not how it works, right? But
Well,
the
that's
workload is
you
going to
put like
connect.
yeah, you put like a sidecar on it
Yeah, the
to do
workload
the
is going to provide the sidecar that does it. But the reason why, for instance, why you have to run this COBOL program is because that's the one that's approved to calculate the sales tax, for instance. And the tax authority said you will use this code. Period. Done. And if you don't, then it's wrong.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm looking at my Canadian government who decided a decade ago to rewrite the tax system from COBOL to Visual COBOL because the only people they had were COBOL consultants that knew anything about the tax code.
Okay.
They literally, because they didn't think that maybe we should hire other consultants, and they said, oh, we can't find any that know anything about the tax code. That's because you've only ever done COBOL for 50 years, right? So, and these people are retired, right? So, like, where are you going to get these new COBOL programmers? And no one had an answer. And that's probably one reason why it's all vibe coded and why it's now they've been offline. The tax department has been offline 2 months of the last 5.
So what's the question for me?
Is that give me a realistic reason why it is that the workload is so, I said, immutable.
So
Tell me
okay.
more about the hostile regulator that I wrote.
So okay.
Okay.
So this is my
And
let me give you my best answer to that.
yeah,
I Not a new answer. I've been sitting on this answer for a while. I do not believe we should be doing reattestation. I do not think we
the
should be doing
attestation.
reattestation as in, oh, something inside of me changed. Let me go, remeasure myself, supply new
Okay.
evidence. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's because what I believe should happen is this. I believe the workload, when it starts, it should measure everything about itself that it possibly can. In And maybe inside of it, it has some sort of, internal detection agent that basically checks for, loading unsigned code or like going out of policy somehow or doing whatever, is untoward. But it's sort of doing some sort of a self-check. That's like as much as I can think. And then that agent's job is to detect that something is bad, right? So basically, its own endpoint, protection thing. And if it detects that something is bad, it should neuter the workload's ability to utilize its attested credentials.
Okay.
And right, so I actually filed a patent on it once. It's called self-regulation of the subject of attestation. And then effectively, if you care about the fact that the workload might mutate, like a confidential VM, right, may load additional code, Uh, so there should be a policy inside the VM on what code it's allowed to load, maybe code signing policy or not, maybe some additional agent. And if you're worried about that the workload might morph and start doing something else, issue short-lived credentials, force the workload to terminate and restart and reattest.
Yeah, and I think that actually is the smartest and simplest way for a workload, right?
I
Because they're
Yeah,
designed to be scalable and restartable.
correct.
Okay, and they're ideally even idempotent, right? So, um, maybe they're not all, but they they commit or they roll back, right?
Right.
And um, uh, that that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So, but by the same token, that's why I don't much care about freshness. I mean, evidence is evidence. Like this is what it was. Like, was it there an hour ago or a minute ago? To me, it doesn't actually matter because if I can trust you to measure yourself, then that's good enough. But where I believe some kind of nuance should be used is when you're doing multi-attester, right? So you have CPU, GPU, SmartNIC, this and that, and they should somehow all be bound together, right? So it's good for them to share some kind of a nuance. But like all this talk about an obsession about freshness, I think is actually complicating. So like for one, whoever generates the nuance needs to verify the nuance. So now you need to do like epoch markers and other things. It just feels like it's being over-engineered. But again, it's the idea has permeated so much that I don't believe it. I can fight against it. So I'm basically I bite my tongue.
Uh, yeah. Uh,
But like reattestation based on new measurements, I think is a step too far.
and okay, let's and we should put this in as maybe as a an issue or something into this.
Well, this is not going to be done differently from anything else in the space. Like ultimately, what all we're doing here is saying, how do I exchange my attestation results for something that a rats on the way relying party needs to worry about? We should, I believe, we need to limit the discussion, to just that.
Okay. I don't see my repo doesn't have the ability to make issues.
What
Weird.
what is it again?
I can't. There's no issues. I can't. Don't have issues in this repo.
Oh, well,
I was going to open an issue on what you just said, right? With reattestation, right? And I'm like, but I can't apparently. So weird.
well,
Uh,
but again, I do not think we should be handling it here because this is a
no, no.
general.
I'm actually saying that within the bottom of the scope or security considerations,
Mhm.
um, we should actually say this mechanism does not support or re-encourage reattestation testation. Instead, the workload should be restarted with a fresh attestation, and by reducing the cost of the identity management, then the cost of that restart is significantly lower, isn't it? Because I would never do that for your desktop, right? I would never say, hey Mark, I see that you plugged in a different USB mouse today. We're going to wipe your system and start all over again.
Yeah.
Right? That would be obviously insane, right? You need to reattest. Yeah, the new mouse is fine, right? Um, fine, but this workload that runs for 7.5 minutes intensely and then stops. Well, when you want to, if it changes, you reattest, as you just said.
I'm perfectly happy limiting the proposal to workloads that do not run so long that you need to reattest them. Like the good software practice is any workload can die and get restarted at any time, and it should just
Yep.
save its state. Let's not try to complicate another layer for the failure of the layer that just fails to restart itself.
I'm totally with that, and I think that yeah. Okay, I have a 10 o'clock meeting I have to chair, and
All
so
right.
I'm gonna run away.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. And
Okay,
please let me
I'll
know
see
when
you
you're
when
ready
you.
for
I'll
another
see you
round
in
of
Vienna,
reviews.
and
Shoot me an email.
yeah, you'll be on vacation next week, and then you'll get there on Friday. Thanks. Bye.
Correct. But I'm basically saying shoot me an email when you're ready for another round of reviews. And I will do my best. But
Okay. Well, you'll be on vacation by
yeah, but
that.
I'm on a long plane flight this
Okay, I will
Friday
still tell you.
night. So
I will still
anything you
tell you.
get me
Yeah.
by then. Take
Okay.
care. All
Thanks.
right.
Talk to
Bye-bye.
you there.